Okay, in this demonstration today I'm going to show you how to configure your newly installed DHCP server role. So I've got open here the DHCP snap-in, and I'm just going to show you to begin with. We right click here on the DC1 server and properties. It's going to show you where the database path is. So this path here is where all the information that is set on your DHCP server is actually located on the server itself, and then also where the backup directory is. So if I head over to that directory here, just navigated to there, you can see various files, and some of these would have existed from when I was testing it earlier. And then in here we have the backup directory as well, so that's always worth bearing in mind. Okay, so if we head over now, I'll drop down the IPv version 4 and then onto server options. So what I can do now is a new scope. So we click next. Okay, I'm going to call this one client scope because it's my intention to have the clients on this particular scope. So just pop that in there and then click next. Okay, so for the start of this one, I'm going to start it at 10.0.0.150, and then I'm going to end it off at 10.0.0.199. All of these IP addresses are just examples for this demonstration, so I'm going to just increase that up to 24, and you can see it actually fills in the subnet mask there for you. So if I click now on next, this is going to give you the option of adding in some exclusions. So these will be IP addresses that aren't going to be given out within the range that we've just specified. So for an example, I could say that I've got the scope set, but I want to exclude the last 9 in that range, for example. So I could put in there 10.0.0.190 as the start address and 10.0.0.199 as the end address, and make sure here you click add and it will drop down into there. That means it's been put in, and we do next. Okay, this is going to be the lease duration, how long the clients are going to be leased the IP address for. So the default there is 8 days. I'm just going to show you that you could increase that there, for example 10 days. The example given often is for a large number of computers on desks which don't move around frequently. If you, for example, were doing laptops, you might want to drop this down to something less. But if we click next then, okay, now it's going to ask you the options here. Do you want to configure these additional options now? I'm not going to do that. I'm going to show you this bit later, but you could go ahead and do them right away if you wanted. So I'm going to click next, and then you can see here that the scope has now been created. Now, one thing to bear in mind is that this little red icon here means that it's not actually activated yet. That one means that it's actually deactivated. So to activate that, you would want to right click there and choose activate. That will then show that icon's now gone away, and you can see that that has been activated. Now it is possible to also add scopes in PowerShell, so I can just show you the commandlet. So I could, for example, do add DHCP server version 4 for IPv4, and then scope, and I'm going to call this name of new client scope 2, and then I'm going to have the start range of, this is going to be a different one, so 192.168.0.100, and then the end range is going to be 192.168.0.199, and the subnet mask, this is important, is going to be 255.255.255 and 0. So if I hit enter now, it doesn't confirm anything, but if we head over now and refresh it on the snap-in, you can see that there's the new scope 2 has been added in there. So we've got the two different scopes on there. Okay, now I said earlier about the scope options, so I'm going to add those in now. You can go to configure options, and the ones that we are going to do, I mean, you can see that there's a large number of these, but the ones for this example we're going to do is put in the DNS server, so the clients know automatically which are the DNS servers. So if I put in DC1 and then resolve, it will resolve that. So my first DC1 is on ending in 10, and I can do that with DC2 as well. Add that in. It just takes a few seconds to get added in, so you just have to wait there. So if we now go down, another option you can put in is for the boot server. So if you, for example, have Windows Deployment Services, which is used to push out images to your clients when you first provision them, you can put this address in here. So 10.0.0.140 is where my WDS server is located, and on the boot file name, this is going to be the one that it picks up. So I'm just simply going to call it pixieboot.win. This will be the actual image file on the WDS server that it then starts to load. So if I click apply, you can see these have all been added in. So we need to check now that those are going to be picked up on the client along with them getting an address. So you can see the address pool here. It's got start of 150 ending in 199, and then there's an exclusion in there. So the first client that successfully is given an IP address, you would expect to get the 150 address there. Okay, I'm just going to pause the video momentarily while I switch over to the client machine that I've got, so I'll pause that. Okay, so now we're over on the client machine. I want to show you that this has actually been joined to my domain already, corp.lan. This is the name that I've given it, Windows 8, and it's Windows 8 Enterprise. So if I now show you the IP settings on here, so if I head over to the network and sharing center and click on the connection, you can see there again that we're on the domain network, Ethernet. Now I can show you in here and the properties of the connection. What I've actually done to begin with is I've gone into the IP4 settings, and I've actually given this a static IP address to begin with. So it's 10.0.0.81. Put in the subnet mask and the DNS server of the first DC. This is just to show you how it is to begin with, and then how it will be afterwards once it's automatically obtained the address via DHCP. So if I come out of here, There is other ways you can also do this as well. I'm sure you've heard of this ipconfig. This just then confirms it here again, and you can actually do get net IP address as well from within PowerShell, which also shows you the network adapters on the machine. Here we go. So we've got our one here, 10.00.81. Now what I need to do now is to edit the settings so that it obtains the address automatically, and then we can see what happens. So I head back into the properties. And put that radio button for the obtain automatically. So click OK and then close. Now let's see what happens now if we do ipconfig all again. Okay, so now you can see that the IP address has changed. It's changed to 10.0.0.150, which earlier in the video you can see would be the first address in that range that we set, and the one that you would expect the first client to receive. Also as well worth noting is that it's got the subnet mask correctly, and down here we can see it's picked up the DHCP server, which is the same, DC1 10.0.0.10, and then also the two DNS servers as well that I specified in the scope options, 10.0.0.10 and then the one ending 20 as well. So all is going well so far. This is what we are to expect. Now the next thing I'm going to show you is reservations. So for the purposes of this, we're going to make a note of the MAC address, which on the IP config list is spelled out as the physical address. This is the physical address that is unique to this adapter. So we need to make a note of this. So I'll pause the video, make a note of that, and then head back over to the server to see how we do a reservation. Okay, so I'm back over on my server looking at the DHCP Manager again, and this time we're going to go into the reservations, right click, new reservation. Now for this one I'm going to call it, for example, admin PC, which is going to be my Windows 8 client that I use for the administration. So I want it to have, it's going to be within this existing pool, this existing range that you've got already, but I'm going to have it 1 and 8.1 for Windows 8.1. So this is where we needed the MAC address from the client earlier. So I'm going to type that in. And then we'll call it just the same, admin PC. And we can add that and then close it there, and you can see that that reservation is now there. So, and it also then shows you the same options as well. If we head over to back over to address leases, you can see that this is being put in there as well. So what I'm going to do now is head back to the client, and then we'll see if we can pick up that new IP address, that new one that's been reserved for us. The key to this is the MAC address, as I said before. So okay, so if I do ipconfig again, you can see that it's now picked up the address of 10.0.0.181, which is exactly what we hoped for.